4. So as you enter champion select, need to see what the priority is going to be from CFO. Scaling front to back was what it felt like they brought through in that first game, even if it didn't really ever come to fruition. Perhaps some adaptation now as they return to the blue side, of course, with their choice.
No real surprises there. Going to maintain those, at least the first band, but I imagine those same bands towards Honkyu as well. In that game, the laning phase, I think, still a good performance, but as so often with Victor, even with getting the early items, right, the early Roa kill, he was able to find the actual damage from the Victor just never really materialized, partially because of 2-1's collapses, but also partially because Victor just really needs a lot of time, especially if you go for the Roa into Cosmic Drive. It just takes a really long time to really get going, as there we see a 0 band away as well.
So it doesn't want to give them that scaling option. Of course, it was Roa into Cosmic Drive, into Zanya's, so Death Cap took quite a bit of time. You can understand.
You don't have your Void Staff, which you also really want.
It's tough, because you want some of those defensive options. You've been getting it on all sides, different players diving in, finding engages. Now the TF band Rumble to follow. Point and Rumble both off the board again. Okay, Twisted Fate as well. Still a lot of high prio jungles available.
Vi comes to mind as a priority pickup here. The downside of Vi is that obviously does tilt your draft in a specific direction. So there's the opportunity to go. We've seen things like the Skarner be picked into it pretty often.
True.
Wukong, another pick that does well. It does look like that is going to be the B1 Air. And then for Oner, I'm going to probably say Wukong for deeper in. Might have been Skarner, but this early on, I think he will be very happy to just be on a carry again.
We've seen how good the Wukong can be into the Vi, whether it's counter-engaging as she goes in to your backline or just use of the clone in the 1v1. T1. Apple luxury of double picks here. Oh, the early Callista alongside the Renata. Not what you would expect, but they know the jungle position isn't contested anymore, so maybe happy to let a few bans go through and much more concerned about securing that powerhouse 2v2. And this is a duo that can get so much work done.
So this is great in 3 levels. Renata into Vi is always going to feel great. You can stall with the bailout, and Vi is not going to have a choice but to go in, so the ultimate will always get value. Then, on top of that, Gumayusi and Keria generally always want to play for as oppressive of a 2v2 as possible. And Neeko is out of the pool. Neeko is one of the few champions that we have seen had consistently good matchups into Renata. It's quite hard for Renata, and the big benefit of Neeko is that you can obviously cook harder and try to really go for something crazy into Renata, but then if that doesn't pan out early, you are kind of out of luck. And Neeko has so much value just throughout the entirety of the game that players are happy to pick her up regardless. Now, this is one of the picks that we have seen Kowing add to his arsenal. Has picked it up once before. Of course, when you see Kowing on a non-engaged support, you're always going to be a little worried. I think even that Leona in the previous game, a lot of the key catches did come from him, but the Lucian Nami as a 2v2, obviously a force to be reckoned with.
Can be incredibly powerful, right? And if you get that lead, the range the Coling brings against champions like Callista, maybe even this Rise, if it's locked in, can do a lot of work, but it's a tall task for Kowing, right? Need to see a level up in that performance on this champion, especially against a duo like Gumayusi and Keria, and especially against what looks to be Faker's Rise.
Or will be probably mid lane bans here, just continuing the focus on Honkyu, trying to secure Faker as good a matchup as possible.
And I think the nice thing about taking Corki in the game 1 as well is that it is Honkyu's 3rd most played alongside the Victor and the Azir, so you've effectively also trimmed his champion pool. Where he wants to go next, it's a bit tough. Now the Galio also taken away.
There's also Crab Lord sign there as well. The Galio obviously has the ability to shake off a lot of what Rise does. Rise also has no choice but to get close to him when the team fights break out, and you can follow the Realm Warp with your ultimate, thereby somewhat mitigating the side lane impact, that, especially for a player like Faker. We know he doesn't really play for lane, he's just playing for the skirmishes. He's playing for, in this game, most likely, Gumayusi and Keria.
And also the combo with the Vi, right, can be potent. So Galio puts the bench. Second ban now coming through from the side of T1. Will it be this time around?
And have to see what the ban is to come through. It is Cassiopeia going to get banned away here.
Okay, so don't want to fight fire with fire in terms of the short range kind of scaling mage matchup.
It's a classic counter pick that we have seen.
Also, if anyone can
Rise.
play it, and shout out to Honky, of course, yesterday was his birthday, now 18. I think 18-year-old's the best. It was a Poppy ban, though. Sorry, side note. The ban you cannot see on your screen in between Twisted Fate and FSI is a Poppy ban. Apologies for the confusion there, but Poppy has now been taken away, and now need to see what are the options going to be from the side of CFO. We're looking for solo lanes.
Yeah, for T1, it's obviously going to be Wukong. I think that's a no-brainer. Oner loves this pick. Insanely strong. Going to make Doggo's life a lot harder, and it's good into the Vi as well. Obviously able to slip away. I've seen more ults on clones than I care for Dracos.
Yeah, at least the Nico isn't here this time around, right?
Oh, that's even worse. The double.
So yeah, it's so infuriating. Watching those games is rough. You really feel for pro players.
We've seen this one before.
Okay.
Honku.
Aurelion Soul, definitely an option. They want a little bit more time to decide what he's going to go for. It is blind pick Cassante. Of all the champions you could blind pick, definitely doesn't feel too bad.
I'm wondering if T1 wants to go towards the possible Camille here on 5. It's again one of those picks where you're in this case, I guess you're denying it from Honky, who did play it. If I remember correctly, when they were a match down, Aurora is going to be the lock-in here, so that does mean a lot more backline threat for all the short-range carries on T1, but Aurora is the type of champion that I think can really easily fall flat if you don't get a good start. As now, Doran, what is it going to be towards the top side of the map here into the Cassante?
You predicted the Camille angle. Jax also a potential option.
But don't like this matchup quite as much into the Cassante specifically. We've seen a lot of Cassante picked into Jax.
Yep.
You are going to give up a lot of lane prio with this. I think the big benefit of the Jax, though, harder to dive.
In. I shouldn't say new. Rest,
Yeah,
the other
of course.
top laner,
Yeah.
subbed in. Not new. No stranger to this lineup.
What we saw in game number 1 was that Junja was able to have big impacts early, right? Found that very early gank towards the bottom side of the map. I would expect him to look for something similar, as we can see starting on the top side. And the big difference here is that last game, I think the power in early game was a lot more even, but Vi pre-6, even though she's not as strong as when she gets her ultimate, has still great ganking power. Wukong, it's fine. Yeah, it's just not great as we take another look here. And as mentioned, these two players very consistently swapping, and CFO really uses this in their drafts and in their best of 5s.
Yep. Driver, the player we saw in game 1, pulling out the Scion, more of that tank identity.
Shyvana.
And yeah, Rest on the other side, more willing to cook. He is the spice. You know, he's the guy who's got the saucy picks, is willing to try out new things. Of course, he's playing Cassante this game, so sometimes the sauce is vanilla, but hey.
Oh, I've seen this before with specifically lethal tempo Jax, but with Grasp, he has Counter-Strike, so he can really be very, very obnoxious here.
Look to be a nuisance. Now just starts to retreat. Trying to slow this down just a bit. Gets away from what could be a pretty frustrating level 1 against the Cassante, obviously a much lower cooldown.
Oh, is Rust gonna miss XP?
Oh,
he still missed it! Oh, I think he got 2 out of the 3, maybe even only one. Even with the flash.
He missed confirmation from production. Wasn't able to get in range. You can see a fast level 2 coming in for Doran, and that is brutal. It might look a little bit strange if you're not used to seeing something like that, but the experience is so important in that matchup. Willing to flash just to get that last little bit extra, and now he is disastrously far behind. The only good news is it's a Wukong in the jungle who just wants to farm for 6. It's not an early diver. There is no massive threat on your life just yet, but for Rest, this is a miserable start to the laning phase.
It's really because, as mentioned, I think we have seen Cassante, after all his changes, actually be a pretty formidable laner, particularly early on, able to out-trade a lot of champions, Jax included. And Oner making the read that since Junja was slightly delayed on his play and has prio in the bot lane, is going to look for a steal here. Will get spotted, but I don't know if he cares.
Oner going over the wall.
Ooh, nice little eater from Junja. Still picks up a lot of the small ones, but the big one did go to Oner, but I can only imagine that they want to try and go for this red buff as well. T1, it's Kalista, Renata. They would love to scrap.
Junja maybe hoping for a steal. Still has access to the smite, but T1 looks like hoping for a Junja as he is forced to flash away from the handshake.
He has smite, but I don't think he's going to get the opportunity. Oh, over the wall!
Can he steal it? Oh! A nice little heist and a little bit of hope for Junja. That was a rough start, and now level 3 is there for Doggo and Kaiwing, and that's big. You can see Guma getting chunked out. Bubble going to connect onto one. Oner on the way in. Heal already used from Doggo. But to get the barrier, they get the heal in exchange for just a heal of their own. So Junja's flash given up, a little bit difficult, but for the bot lane 2v2 at least, a nice trade of sums.
CFO not going to give anything to T1 for free. Top lane matchup, a bit rough, thanks to Doran's early shenanigans, but really nicely done there by Junja to find himself the smite over the wall. Big deal, because otherwise, I think he really starts falling far behind. It also accelerates Oner's Keria.
Bubble, nice look from the side of Doggo. Keria forced to flash out. Doggo and Kaiwing playing with the expectations of T1 there. Had expected a recall, so set the trap in the bush as Junja walks into Faker. Honku now looking for the setup, trying to find a bit more damage. Flash forward, Faker flashing out at first blood!
There's Junja again! Gets his own buff. As sees his Crux taken, doesn't really care.
Just seems unfazed.
Makes his way over to the top side of the map, and just as Faker, I think, has a suspicion, places down the ward, not only does he get the kill, but he also gets the flash. So that means at level 6, there is a huge opportunity here for the Vi to make yet another play on this rise.
And it's pretty plain and simple. Faker caught right as he goes to place the ward. What a nice little timing.
So
coming
crisp.
in from Junja.
From Junja.
Doggo, dash over the wall, face first to the Doran. Doran running it down, he goes.
The hidden Lucian is the deadliest. No one sees it coming. The Lucian gank? Are you kidding me?
And respect to CFO. They are cooking. We didn't see it in the pick in the form of the Cassante, but the angles that they are looking for, the quick flash over the wall. Credit to them, getting back into lane, getting the kill. Of course, they don't get to spend the gold yet, but this is a damn strong start from the side of CFO.
Mid jungle up. Bot lane, gonna be feeling good. I haven't even mentioned it, but Doggo actually going for Electrocute, which kind of insane when it comes to the, to the keystone.
Well, and you mentioned, right, that it's all about who pulls ahead in the early game. Doggo clearly very committed to pulling ahead in the early game.
That's kind of insane. Usually you see, if you want to really play for short aggressive trades, you see PTA.
Sure.
And if you want to really only play for calling, although that style hasn't been popular recently, you go for first strike.
Bit of vision, but maybe not enough.
You have suspicion that, and Oner is also, he's level 5 Wukong, so.
Keria finds the handshake. But again, credit to the side of CFO. Junja and now Doggo as well, finding those early kills. Cleanse is forced just in the 2v2. Well played by Keria.
And Oner is chem zoned up, so he can actually afford to do this. Obviously, just dinged 5, but thanks to his continued play and the buff that he got, and the fact that Oner wasted a lot of time trying to get it, Junja actually pulling ahead pretty nicely here in experience, so that is going to give them another window where he will have his ultimate. 5 will be able to make impact, and Faker...
See Honku trading so aggressively. Faker zooming out to safety though. Power the phase rush. Keeps him standing. Honku doing very well in the trades. Good discipline from Faker. Just instantly walks out. Keeping an eye on the purple experience bars at the bottom of your screen. Guma just slightly behind Doggo overall. Doggo about to pick up these 3 creeps, so a quick level 6 could be the difference in this 2v2.
And thanks to Doggo's gank, we also see Doran no longer ahead in XP. So even though Rest did use his flash level 1, didn't really mean anything, right? He wasn't punished for it. And with Doran dying, he's able to fully catch up. Slightly behind in gold, but not really going to be the end of the world.
Push back from Rest, ulti back. Doran just going to retreat. Crucially doesn't take tower aggro.
Yeah, would have been in real trouble if the wave was in a slightly different position. I think could have actually ended up going down, because he doesn't have flash, his lane opponent does. And now Junja has his flash, or his ultimate rather, available. It's experience lead we talked about, but I think they spotted just on the edge there with the sweeper, the ward, which means that T1's now. So obviously Faker not going to fall for that. Still, nice early game here from CFO for what feels like the second game in a row. But it was the objective fight where we really started to see...
Faker caught out, Q flash from Junja, instant bubble! 8 minutes in, they've already claimed the feat of warfare. Grubs are spawning, and they're in a great position to take it now. Guma and Keria trying to push back, trying to get something on the bottom side of the map, and it looks like they'll just accept the trade. They'll accept the cross map, take first Drake of the game in exchange for these grubs.
Dogo's just living his best life. He's just walking from lane to lane. It's like,
getting
you want this kill? Take it. You want another? Drake now being started here by T1. Looks like the trade is going to be Drake for T1. But a kill going to CFO, and those grubs are also on the way. As Doran, again, kind of mosquitoing around. But looks like for now we'll be able to stall. Faker obviously has Realm Warp available. We'll see if they actually want to commit to this, if the wave is cleared. Doran standing guard. Loves his objectives, as we all know.
Very true. Seeing if maybe he can sneak a kill if they get over eager. Oner level 6 here on the bottom side. Quick heal coming out. Faker on the way in. Good tidal wave to start, but Doggo doesn't really have any mana. Nice ulti coming in from Guma to reset the tower aggro. Doggo living for an extra second. Decent damage, and Oner now forced to flash away, but they got what they came for. Hongq here trying to extend the fight. Hoping to find the punish. Excellent handshake. Catches him in stealth. Perfect from Keria. Caught off onto the side. Wants a bit more damage. Junja. Again, they're keeping the play going. The extra movement speed coming in from Kaiwing. They don't have the tidal wave, but they might not need it. Hongq on the chase. Keria ready with the handshake to try and disengage. Faker looks like he will just be sacrificed here. Bubble to follow. Junja going to be donated the kill. Hongq taking it in the end with the pullback. And an excellent turn from the side of CFO. T1, the initial dive started well, but they used too many resources.
Took them so long to actually get the kill because they haven't been able to build any substantial lead. Look at Guma as well. Doggo sitting on Essence Reaver. Guma was, when that play started, just sitting on steel caps. So there just wasn't that much damage available realistically, which means that response from CFO, great yet again. Doggo just pulling further ahead. As we take a look here, they're able to stall for such a long amount of time. Kaiwing just hit 6, so the wave comes in. And even though they get the aggro reset, you can see the amount of damage that Guma takes. Absolutely disgusting. He doesn't get to join because they have already ramped up. And then Oner trying to kind of get him out, but I think they've pretty quickly realized, and I want you to look, Faker's flash timing while this is happening. If he has his flash here, I think he flashes over the wall, he probably is fine. But instead, flash isn't up. In the moment that Junja finds the Q flash, obviously nothing that Faker can do. And CFO running the early game, really getting the full value, skirmishing around. And as we said, if this Lucian gets ahead, the game becomes so much harder, because contesting mid-wave when Doggo has any form of backup is hard. I say that as he's laning 1v2, he does still need help. Although, does he?
Some form of backup has appeared as Doggo is still really hurting. And I think, again, I want to call our minds back to the mid lane matchup, because I think Hongq getting a lot of support, but doing well with the resources he's been given, and for the second game in a row, finding these leads over Faker early on. Now, Ryze is a champ who scales fantastically into later stages of the game, but Hongq in a good position to make the difference, and it's insane to me how consistent Junja is the player we have to watch.
It's wild, right? Has really stepped up, as we see here. The gold at 14, even in game number 1, wasn't going the way of Faker, but he also didn't fall that substantially behind. I think this was mostly the kills that were found, right? But he wasn't dying on repeat. He already has died as many times as he did in the entirety of that previous game. And unfortunately, I think for Faker, we're really seeing what we saw in the LCK domestically as well. After 2 years where his spring split domestically was really top level, only eclipsed by Chovy, the struggles that he found outside of specifically the playoffs seem to continue, and CFO making excellent use of that, continuously finding these plays on him.
But even if he doesn't have the gold leads in the early game, we saw what he could do mid to late on the Annie. Ryze, set up with the Realm Warp, still a champion who scales fantastically as the Realm Warp now comes in. Oner looking to find his target. Hongq locked up for a moment and trying to make it out of safety. Oner a quick retreat though. So ulti traded for ulti. Faker's as well, so 2-for-1 trade in favor of CFO.
Yeah, the moment they see Junja, like, we don't want that heat, that's too much. Doran hasn't backed yet.
On the way.
Rest has, but if there's anyone here in top lane, he's dead, by the way. But they did see Junja, so I think Doran feeling a little safe. That's the only lead there for T1 right now. And some of the matchups, I think, to be expected, particularly, again, the jungle matchup. And Junja, with the way he's been playing, Oner, pre-6, doesn't get to do that much. And we need to start seeing for T1 some of these skirmishes, because otherwise I think CFO, the only thing they have been able to do is stack the Drakes. And in about 40 seconds, they should be starting that.
And can this team replicate some of the same team fights that we saw in the previous match where they were attacking from multiple angles. It's harder on the Renata. This time you do have the Kalista to keep you safe, but it's not the same level of engaged threat that Aniko brings through. Doggo and Kaiwing continuing to trade in the mid lane. Doggo happy to have a 1,000 gold lead. Not even a full completed item from Guma, as Keria is taking an immense amount of damage. Heal just for the movement speed to try to get out of the culling.
This is what we're talking about. Once you get ahead on this Lucian,
Big chunk.
the electrocute. The funniest part is that there was obviously a large time where Nami took electrocute back when that interaction still worked, so you could proc it. Free spells on the Lucian is, oh my god, Honkyu.
Forced to flash out, flash for flash trade, and again, this is something that we've seen this tournament though so far, is just chipping away at these cooldowns before a major fight. Drake gonna be picked up by Junja. Honkyu sticking around in mid lane, knowing that that ulti was used in the previous fight. It's just 5 seconds away. But Oner already getting chunked out, and CFO running the Rift right now. 2,000 gold in the lead at 14 minutes.
Drake taken as well. And unlike in the previous game, the team fight, I think, 4T1, not a given. The last time around, they were very firmly in control, but that mid lane turret falling early as...
Oner caught out for a moment. Honkyu! The burst damage is there, but Faker now wants to take down Kaiwing, but he might be the one who's in trouble. Flash forward, gets a little bit extra movement speed, but the phase rush isn't there, and Honkyu grabs another T1. Try to get something back, but it just doesn't work.
Flashing for that kill, just trying to desperately get anything. Meanwhile, Junja is just wrecking a turret. He's breaking the vault.
And credit to CFO again. Top lane changed, but top lane isn't where the action is happening, although, as I say that, Keria getting things kicked off. Q3 ready to go for rest. It doesn't look like he's going to have an easy way out of this. Was hoping to find the ulti, and he will at least be able to take Doran over the wall. Nice healing coming in. Omnivamp on the ulti, but he gets away from the Pathmaker. That's the crucial skill. Rest back and can't cancel it early. Q3 taking some time. Doran in trouble, but manages to get the shutdown. Honkyu on the way. Doggo chasing as well. That's the culling. Guma in trouble. Knockdown there. Doggo! The electrocute Brock finishing it. He's John Wick! He's just shooting them down! And he's the dog! It shouldn't be allowed, Mao.
It can't be both. At the big side, Stratos! His Oner tries to get anything on the cross map, but CFO running the Rift in his game number 2, and in game number 1 we saw a glimpse of this early on, but then once the fight started, T1 was able to find back the pace as it's really just Doran right now who is able to consistently find a decent impact, as we see the 6-man roster here of CFO obviously having kind of a breakup performance at first stand as well.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the only one to make it back as far as representatives go here to MSI.
And so far making good on that as they pull ahead in this game too. T1, you highlighted it so well, right? It was the angles of attack, how well they fought, how well they leveraged their composition in the previous game. That
look at that heart. That's adorable.
You gotta respect.
Love that. Good for you, Doggo.
Now
It's a great picture.
You're so wholesome. CFO set up on Herald, and unfortunately, T1 are just disastrously far behind. So now we look at scaling. We look at what does it look like as we go later into the game, and the answer is you have a Jax, you have a Ryze and a Wukong. They're powerful tools, but CFO aren't going to give you an inch. Coling coming through, clean combo again. Junja grabs the kill, and again, they're just making these side lane picks look so effortless.
Now top lane's going to fall as well. Might even be an inner here at 17 minutes. And if you think that there's not enough damage yet on CFO in about 2 minutes, Infernal Drake is spawning as
ulti across the top, hoping to find the jungle. Doggo doing decent damage, but has the cleanse, and in goes Honkyu! Multiple members locked up, it's only the clone Oner managing to make it out. Guma has an extra lease on life, but it's not enough to bail out.
Doran? I don't think he can do enough by himself. He's arriving, but the room's already on fire! Almost 6k gold lead here.
And the thing
for
about
CFO, and it's just straight up, right? Junja running the map, and the bot lane, Doggo and Kaiwing making such good use with these roams, with this map play, and T1 just continuously getting caught off guard.
And credit to Kaiwing, 0, 1, and 8. This is the guy that we look at, engaged champions only, maybe a Renata in there as well, but really showing up on this Nami, making it work. Supportive role for sure, but Overall, dominant performance thus far. I mean, just look at the bottom of the screen, 1.7, 1.1, 2.6. Massive leads for 3 of the members of the side of CFO, and not really balanced out by what Doran has been able to do in isolation.
Well, also Doran, realistically in this game, the expectations, okay, guys, I'll be fine early game. Obviously, actually was able to make an impact.
Yeah.
And then once I had 2 items, I'm a menace in the side lane. And then he gets there, or he will get there soon. And it looks the rest of the map, and it's dire as Oner. Maybe looking, but that's a Cassante.
And you can see that T1 know that this is their avenue of attack, playing through Doran. But it's so hard when the enemy top laner is playing Cassante, when he can just dodge so much of the CC, but they're determined to try again. Recall going in from Faker, Q3 ready to go. Quick flash out from Rest, manages to find the initial knockback. Pull back on the Wukong clone, but it doesn't matter, it's still the escape. Junja on the way in, Realm Warp, they need to get the hell out. Fallbreaker manages to catch him. Oh! In the midst of it, it's Junja Hong Q to follow! Absolute destruction for CFO!
It's a stomp, Dracos, in game number 2. T1. So often they make a play and you look at them, they can't keep getting away with this. Guess what? They didn't!
And it's the only time where ulting the clone is optimal. He's not in threat anymore.
As right there, Junja with the flash Q gets the Rise CC. The Realm Warp does not take T1 to safety, and as reinforcements arrives.
I heard a nice. Respectable nice is Doggo's still just going.
Keria flashed.
Double TP and T1 are trying to fight their way through this deficit, and it's not working out. Doggo already on the way out. Blastcone on the way in. Kaiwing supporting from the backside with a bit more damage. Faker untouched, but it does not matter because it's Doran set to fall. Easy pickup for Doggo. Kaiwing still chasing. Q over the wall from Junja. Vaultbreaker to kick things off. The bubble hits! Kaiwing! Giving the kill over to Hong Q. Faker running. CFO unrelenting in their pressure as the double kill comes through the twofold hex. Rest chasing. Oner falling. CFO running the rift.
That's going to be the inner falling. Nothing that T1 can do. You can see the desperation. Some of these flashes, some of these hard forced plays. It's just not working out. The only solace for T1 is that they got a dragon and a grub. That's it. No drakes, or sorry, no turrets rather. I don't think Otacon is going to be on the menu either.
Keria, cheeky ult. Not going to do too much here. Otacon will fall as well. So now massive advantage in terms of flowers overall on top of all of the gold, 10,000. I mean, we could just list it off. CFO 100% in the driver's seat, and T1, I respect the instincts to try to fight your way out, but every time they've tried, it's just gotten worse. They have only dug themselves deeper.
And as T1, if you fall behind early with a comp like this, not that much you can do.
And shout out to the stats team who pulled this up for us. Faker has never died more than 8 times in an international games. 8 deaths was the G2 at MSI 2024 last year in Chengdu. On the cusp of breaking that record. Hong Q and CFO potentially the team to do it. And it starts to reset our perspectives on what we saw in game 1, because it was CFO in control for that brief moment. It was T1 who fumbled a bit. They fought their way out, but CFO was such a commanding lead. Setting a new pace, setting a new tone for this series.
Let's see continued attention from Junja in the early game. Making his impact in bot, getting his own buff, immediately setting Honky up for success, because the Aurora is the type of pick where if you don't at least get a good starter, you can't fall behind, or you really very quickly just don't do that much, right? Your damage doesn't feel as impactful. Even if you get on top of the backline, it doesn't mean really anything as, T1's got to try something. Looks like we're going for another play onto Rest, but they don't want to risk it because look at the lack of vision control. There is nothing here for T1. They have no idea.
Observers beautifully highlighting what T1 see, and the answer is nothing.
You don't know.
They defend their own blue buff, and that's about it. They now will see Doggo at the very least. Uncertainty, they can assume there's more members of CFO there to cover, but walking into the brush, face checking into these brushes could be death. Keria, at least with the Celestial opposition, feels comfortable as Doran steps up top side.
Dracos, it's a Blade of the Ruined King. into 3 completed items.
Should I just, do you need to say anything else? I think we'll just let that, breathe for a moment.
Maybe you have a
It's a wallet diff feed. No. This is an insurmountable lead. T1 would need a miracle in this game to come back. And time is running short.
We'll see if T1 magic is as powerful as GAN magic. I don't think that it is in this one, Dracos.
All I'll say is as long as the Krug Lord is in the game, you never know.
He's a 200 gold lead. His team is 11K.
And it's the only lead they have now. It's the only lead they have.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I don't see it.
No, yeah. At this point, that glass is a shot glass.
All right.
There's not a lot
Oner's on a deep flank. They don't have a TP ward. I do think they need to get Doran and Faker there as well. And CFO Saware as well. They're not going to fall for it.
Doggo stepping up. Guma in trouble. Keria not quite in range. Going to be forced to go over the wall. Uses the heal. Ready with the bailout. But again, chipping away at those cooldowns before the next major objective. It's barrier and heal taken out of the equation. All flashes up except for Honkyu on the side of CFO. Similar state for T1. Better team fighting was the key to success for T1 in game 1. Now, the wallet diff should be insurmountable. But if there's any team that can out-execute...
I think that's the problem is that's not enough, because outside of rest, every single member on CFO is so fed that I can just see them carry the fight.
You know what? Now, I think you're right. I think I want to give them a bit of credit just in case it happens.
I'm happy to grasp at straws with you.
We are grasping at the tiniest straws. There is...
We're talking... Okay, so obviously it starts with a Nash
really
deal.
bad paper straws that immediately get soggy. Those are the straws we're grasping at.
No, I just...
There should be no
I want to
way.
drink my tea. Don't give me a soggy straw. You need to steal Baron, all right? Starts with that. So CFO, under no circumstances, and I don't think they will. I think they're going to just deny vision, maybe start Baron, immediately peel off. You just want to fight here. As long as you don't give an opportunity for Oner to somehow get a crazy steal here.
He's waiting.
There's just no shot, right? 41 to hold on. As soon as Baron goes down, you're done.
CFO.
Just turn on to the Wukong CFO.
Willing to flip it, it would seem. How will they keep Oner from getting into the pit? Doggo, quick calling to chunk out Keria. Massive chunks. The TP now goes in. It's Doran in the backside of the pit. They're starting to retreat. Doran with the stun. Will back out.
Love to see it. Look for the turn.
TP down, taking their time. Discipline, the name of the game here. Faker finds a quick lockup. Oner immediately goes in, but it's into ZH. Coming over with the tidal wave as Honkyu goes golden. He's ready now to fire back. T1, one last desperate gambit, and Faker's the only man standing as Doran 2 will fall. CFO on the victory march to tie the series.
And the gambit, unsuccessful. CFO, they're not going to flip that Baron. Might take it now. Get the shove out, maybe get a top lane inhibitor for your troubles. Don't have to look for the end. There's no need. Get his objective. Get your free Baron, turn it into a soul point. Start knocking down these other inhibitors, and despite an attempt from Faker, the flash, the turn, the stopwatch is there. And we see the immediate ult from Kaiwing as well to keep his team safe.
And the hits keep coming for T1 as our stats team is a little ruthless. This is the worst T1 gold deficit at 20 at an international. Minus 9K at 20 minutes. And the previous record was 2024 MSI versus BLG at minus 7.6.
Do they get this dragon? That'd be something.
T1.
They need to get out as well. That's the bigger issue.
Getting out is the hard part. Junja ready to go over the wall. They see objective bounty has been claimed, and now they're chasing.
Running.
T1 well grouped. Realm Warp not quite available, but they will be able to walk away, getting something back. A brief glimmer of hope.
All right, 2.5 minutes on the Rebel Baron power play for CFO. It's getting these inhibitors, truly denying T1 access, and looking at the item finishes, we are now at 4 items for Doggo to 2 for Guma. Faker still doesn't have any utility, just has a little bit of beefiness of the 2 tanky items, but they need damage. They need to be able to actually kill someone as Honkyu.
Big damage. T1 walk forward, immediate Q3 to pull back. Coming in from rest. Honkyu off to the side. Quick use. The Seekers to keep Doran standing, but it looks like he'll fall as well. Doggo completely untouched. The base wide open. T1 pulling back. CFO, they've got the wallet to 15K in their favor. T1, there's no way they can hold this. Confidence, an incredible pace of game from CFO in game 2. One final stand for T1. Handshake connects. CFO gonna need just a few more seconds. the Nexus in their sights. CFO in a dominant game 2, tie the series.